Let's talk about that one piece of infrastructure you're secretly terrified to touch. For a lot of us, that's the Kubernetes ingress controller, the front door to your entire digital world. And changing it, well, that can either be a smooth, professional pit stop or a full-on multi-car pileup. Today, we're diving into a real-world story about one team's journey moving from the community-run ingress-nginx to the official nginx-ingress.
And I love this quote because it just sets the stage perfectly. This isn't a story about some flawless victory, but it's not a complete horror story either. It's the messy, complicated truth that lives right in the middle, full of trade-offs, unexpected roadblocks, and some really tough strategic calls. So here's our game plan for unpacking this whole adventure. First, we're going to talk about why this one component is so darn important. Then we'll walk through the migration itself, the good parts that make you feel like a genius, the bad surprises that you should absolutely expect, and, yeah, the ugly truths that can be total deal breakers. We'll wrap it all up by asking if it was worth the pain, and then give you a playbook so you can learn from their mistakes. Okay, first up, this make or break component. You know, when your ingress controller is humming along, you barely even notice it. It's just there doing its job. But the moment it fails, oh, you'll notice. Your entire cluster notices. It's the quiet hero, or sometimes the loud villain of the whole show. So what exactly is it? Well, the best way to think about it is as the traffic cop for your Kubernetes cluster. It's that single entry point that stands at the gate, takes every single request from the outside world, and figures out exactly which service inside needs to get it. It manages your SSL, your domains, your routing. It's the whole shebang, and it is absolutely critical. Now, let's meet the two main characters in our drama. On one side, you have ingress-nginx. This is the one managed by the Kubernetes community. It's basically the default for a ton of people. It's popular, it's packed with features, it's a real workhorse. On the other side, you've got nginx-ingress, which is managed by nginx Inc. itself. The perception here is that this is the official version, the one with commercial backing and a more stable future. And that little distinction? That's the whole reason this migration happened in the first place. All right, now for the fun part, the deceptively good start. This is that magical moment in a big project where you start to think, hey, you know what? Maybe this won't be a total nightmare after all. And you know what? At first, it really was smooth sailing. The first few steps were shockingly simple. Just switching the ingress class over to the new controller, it just worked. No drama. The Helm chart for the official controller was clean, sane, straightforward, which, if you've wrestled with Helm charts before, you know is a small miracle. All the core stuff, SSL, basic routing, it was all there and working. So far, so good, right? But you knew this was coming, didn't you? The honeymoon phase never lasts forever. Now we get to the bad. This is where the little paper cuts start to appear, and the reality of migrating something so critical really starts to sink in. And boy, did it sink in. First, the annotations. All those little configuration snippets had a totally different syntax, so every single one had to be manually translated. Fun. Then, more complex things like SSL pass-through just broke and had to be completely re-engineered. And of course, the DNS switchover led to those fun little waves of, is it down for you? Downtime? But the real showstopper, the thing that stopped everything cold, was a ghost in the machine. Oh man, this is such a classic migration nightmare. The old community controller had left behind a little piece of itself, a validation webhook. Its job was to check new ingress rules for errors. Well, it was still active. So when they tried to apply the new ingress objects for the new controller, the old webhook rejected them. It brought the entire process to a screeching halt. The only solution was to hunt that thing down and just nuke it from orbit. A real gotcha. Okay, we've had the good, we've survived the bad. Now it's time for the ugly. And these aren't just annoyances. These are the deep, fundamental issues that can make you seriously question your life choices. The first ugly truth is what the author calls the metrics cliff, and it is a steep one. The community controller gives you this incredible, beautiful wealth of Prometheus metrics. Latency, error rates, requests per second, all broken down by service. It's like a Tesla dashboard. By comparison, the official controller gives you, well, basically nothing. Simple connection counts, no labels, no details. It's like trading in that Tesla for an Etch-a-Sketch. For any team that relies on observability, this is a massive step backwards. And the second ugly truth, the documentation maze. Because the two projects have almost the exact same name, anytime you search for help with nginx-ingress, Google floods you with results for the other project.
it is infuriating. The actual official docs are sparse, and you end up spending hours digging through GitHub issues trying to find answers that should be in a simple guide. So after all of that, the bad surprises, the ugly truths, the missing metrics, you have to ask the big question, right? Was any of this even worth it? Let's get into the strategic thinking that drove this whole painful process.
This is the key, isn't it? With a massive metrics downgrade and a documentation nightmare, why would anyone willingly put themselves through this migration? It seems completely backwards. And here's the answer. It was a long-term bet. The switch wasn't about getting better features today. It was about aligning with the project that seems to have a more secure and actively supported future. The community around ingress-nginx felt like it was slowing down, while NGX, the company, is pouring resources into their controller. It was a strategic move to bet on future stability over current features.
Of course, it's really important to remember these two nginx controllers are not the only game in town, not by a long shot. The Kubernetes ecosystem is full of amazing alternatives, like Traefik, Contour, Kong, the list goes on. Each one has its own philosophy and strengths. If you were starting a new project today, one of these might actually be a much, much better choice.
All right, let's bring this all home with the most important part, the actionable advice. This is your migration playbook built from all the scars and lessons learned from someone who's been through the fight.
So if you're thinking about doing this yourself, here's the 5-point plan. 1. Before you do anything else, hunt down and destroy any leftover webhooks from your old controller. 2. Test every single one of your routes individually. Assume nothing translates cleanly. 3. Plan your DNS switch like a military operation. 4. Figure out your new metrics and observability plan before you make the switch, not after. And finally, number 5. Take your time. Don't rush it. What looks simple on paper will absolutely break in YAML. And I think this quote just perfectly sums up the whole experience. Migrating a live ingress controller isn't impossible, but it's a delicate, high-stakes operation. It really is like changing the tires on a moving car. You can pull it off, but it's going to be stressful, and yeah, you're definitely going to curse a few times along the way. So, in the end, we land on this question, and I'm turning it back to you. After hearing the good, the bad, and the ugly, you have to decide what your priorities are. Is it rich features today or the promise of long-term stability tomorrow? There's no single right answer, just the one that sucks the least for your specific needs. And let's be real with ourselves. In the fast-moving world of cloud-native tech, whatever you choose today might not be the right choice next year. And that's okay. This cycle of migration and reevaluation isn't a failure. It's just part of the job. Because next year, it'll probably be time to do it all over again.